Project, project, project. All right, so you have a project to make first. You're going to write a short composition. It can either be for solo keyboard, it could be for keyboard and a solo instrument of your choice, or it could be for solo guitar. Additionally, you are going to create a recording of your composition. You can either do a live performance, or you can use a computer playback feature. If it's a live performance, it can be you or some friends or a friend of yours. It just needs to be a live performance. Somebody needs to play it. If you want to use a computer to play it, I highly recommend MuseScore, because MuseScore can play music back and will play all the notes right for you. You might also want to consider putting it on GarageBand, which if you've got a Mac and have a GarageBand app on it. If you use computer playback, you might want to consider blitzing up your piece with some percussion beats or effects or things like that to make it more fun. It doesn't just have to be a keyboard playing. You can find other cool stuff to have in the piece. You have two options. You can either write an octatonic minuet or waltz, and you'll use the octatonic scale, and you'll write it in a 3/4 time, and you'll use a simple binary form, right? Just an A and a B section, and it needs to be 16 measures, and you can write something very strangely beautiful with the octatonic scale. You can also write an atonal march, and this composition, you'll use pitch sets. Here are the ones that you can use to try to make it sound atonal. I recommend a march be in 2/4 time, but if you want to make it jagged and angular, you should throw in a 5/8 or a 3/8 bar in there to kind of make it off kilter on your march. And this is your chance to write something dark and ugly that brings out your inner rage. All right, I'm not doing that yet. Now, this is very important. Your composition must have dynamics, articulations, tempo markings. It can't just be pitches. It needs to be a real piece with all of those instructions. You should also have a short written explanation about how you wrote the piece. So don't just send me a piece. I need to know how and why. What was it that you were trying to do? What steps did you take in your composing? Now, I actually started off a couple of projects, potential projects myself. Here's the beginning of an octatonic waltz. And you'll see that I have a melody in the right hand. Now, this is supposed to be using the 0-2. So I do have a few little passing tones that aren't in the octatonic scale, but for the most part it works. Then you'll see I have an chuck chuck in the left hand. Right, so you get the idea. It's kind of got this sort of waltz sort of quality. This one here is my atonal march, and I've got my pitch sets down here, and I've got a melody, and it's going to have a nice jump, 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 jump to it. So that gives you an idea of what you can be doing. Notice that I have articulations, I have dynamics, I wrote a tempo indication. It's got to have all that good stuff. make sure that you send me a clear final copy of your score by May 1st. And then your recording should be posted somewhere online. Do not send me your, the file of the recording. I don't want you to email me a recording. I want you to send me a link to the recording. You need to have your recording available online, and then send me a link, and I click the link and I can hear it. Don't send me the actual recording itself. Send me the link. Did you do it? 20 points. Did you follow the instructions? 10 points. Did you have all the musical details? 10 points. Now, you don't need to use computer notation, right? You can do it by hand and play it and have a live performance. But if you do, make sure that is a clean final copy and not a rough draft. It needs to look like a final project. So neatness is 10 points. And do you have the short written explanation of your process? That's another 10 points. So notice that you could write a piece that's not very good and still get almost all the points. You could get an A and write a bad piece. It's not about whether you write a good or a bad piece. It's about following the process and doing the instructions and going through and having that experience of composing. All right. Be sure to send me, reach out to me if you have any questions about the project. It's not due for a few more weeks, so you have lots of time, and you can always get cracking early though.